Hello, welcome to another episode of Being Chat Before Bedtime. So, over a couple of nights at the weekend, I had been playing around with this idea of using Bing Chat as an agent, a conversational agent for specific conversations or topics of conversation. And you've probably seen me do this sort of thing before, but more within either, I suppose, like more of a academic exploration scenario. So I thought I'd do this within the area of music, particularly UK music and the UK pop and UK popular culture. So to assist me with this, I've dug out, you can hear that, a bit of ASMR. It's one of these old school notebooks from back in the day when the covers used to be hard on them. They had that sort of slightly cardboardy front and back, and this one's got that lovely sort of mottled look to it. Yeah, this is pretty old. And it's funny, I was just flicking through to see what else it's been used for. It's got some French translation at the front, one page of French, and then some, well, Commodore Basic code from way back. Yeah, this looks like this was from somewhere back in the, maybe in the 80s, which is rather useful because that's what I'm talking about. And the reason why I've dug this out is at the back it has a list of gigs I went to in the 80s. So I just need this to help me a little bit once I start interacting with Bing Chat, just to make it a little bit more authentic and relevant, because, you know, sometimes my memory, particularly of stuff that happened in the 80s, not surprisingly, is not as good as it once was. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up the chat. So I've started a new topic. I'm using creative. I tend to gravitate towards this. The other two, not so much. It just really depends. But most of what I've been doing, I've found I get better results with creative mode. So I'm asking Bing to assume the role of a very knowledgeable and articulate friend who knows a lot about UK popular culture and the UK music scene in the 80s. Historically, a lot of my friends, including my wife, would definitely fit into this category. Chat with me about the live scene in Brighton in the mid-1980s. So I'm sort of locking it in a little bit, but I didn't mention here about them necessarily being knowledgeable and articulate about the live scene, but it is in the 1980s, and this is something I've been playing around with. It is, and I haven't done enough to work out whether this is consistent, but by doing this, by getting a very slight overlap, there's a nice bit of backwards and forwards where I found the chat to be a bit more inquisitive than if you set it up to be an expert on exactly what you're talking about. So I wouldn't, for instance, recommend doing this for, say, like, you know, an academic conversation. You'd want to be more specific, but for this, it seemed to work really well, and I just got lost in it. So this could be quite a long video. Stop the video at this point if you want to watch it all, and grab a beverage, because I'm not sure how long 20 questions is going to last. To give you a bit of context for the whole Brighton thing, so in the mid-80s I spent a lot of time in Brighton, mainly because I was having to drive down there to attend college, because when I was working in the what I call the labs, so I was working in immunology and microbiology, one day a week I attended college, and that was for 4 years, 2 years in Crawley and 2 years in Brighton. And I've probably spoken about this before, but the Brighton college that I attended is somewhere around here. But as a consequence of being down there anyway 1 day a week, I often used to walk down to the seafront, because you've got the Brighton pier here, and if you're not super familiar where Brighton is in the UK, this is the south coast of the UK. So yeah, I'd walk down here and hang out at some of the music shops. Now things have changed quite a bit, because when I was down there in the 80s, this hadn't been built at that point. But a lot of the gigs I went to were in this block. So Brighton Centre's still here, so that's where I went to big gigs. The Prism was, this area here was the top rank. And this here, roughly, was where something called Coasters was, which was a nightclub which doubled as a late night live venue as well. So they were the three main ones. Also back a little further, if you go back out of Brighton, around here where the Royal Pavilion is, you've got something called the Brighton Dome as well. And that's another venue I used to go to. So yeah, that's the main ones. So I'd come down here, then it was really easy for me to buy tickets during the day, during the week, for gigs that were later on that month. And I saw a lot of bands over the years, or yeah, mainly through 85 into 87, but later years I came down and went to venues further along here. There's a venue down here called Concord, or Concord 2. I'm not sure how far down here it is. It's not very clearly marked, but anyway, that was another one, and that was more in the 2000s that I used to go to. Anyway, that's just to give you a bit of sort of geographical context here. So back to the thing in hand. So let's do this and see how successful we are. The other thing is I've got Word off screen, because I'm going to have a go at dictating these into Word and then copying them across to save me tapping away. Okay. So, yep, they're playing the role here. They say they're a big fan of You Two and the Boy Tour. Killing Joke when they set fire to the ceiling. I don't remember that. I was actually at that gig in Brighton. Although they're probably talking about the tour generally. I wonder if that was another. Yeah, so they're talking about the early 80s here. Oh, there you go. Top rank now, the Prism. Oh, this is really good. This is a bit more in depth. So it's not really the fun. Let's do. What were some of your favourite bands from that? Yeah, let's try that. So the Smiths, yeah, when I was attending college in Brighton, which would have been about 83, I remember seeing posters for Meet His Murder around that time. Yeah, I saw a new order at the Brighton Centre. I think twice, maybe. Was it twice or once? Maybe it was just once. And The Cure. Oh, I definitely saw down there. What were some of your favourite bands from the 80s? Well, let's try and get it back on the live scene. I got to see Killing Joke, the Top Rank, in was that 1985, and the Sisters of Mercy. Let's see, at the same venue in the same year. And anybody else I want to mention at this point to lock it in a bit. I also saw the cult actually multiple times in Brighton. Saw the cult multiple times in Brighton. It's funny, I said I wasn't going to type this, but never mind. Too late now. In Brighton from, was it 1984 to, because no, 84 was when they supported Big Country, right round to 87 when they played the Brighton Dome actually. At that point they'd pretty much turned into AC/DC, which isn't a problem, but I preferred it. Preferred them probably around the period of Love, which is the two gigs around that time I went to. Is they were touring off the back of She Sells Sanctuary, back when bands used to tour off the back of singles, and then they toured again to promote is it Rain? Yeah, Rain, I think. Do you have any photos or memorabilia from those gigs? I'd love to see them. Okay, that's one thing I didn't get. It wasn't until after the fact I used to go to record fairs and actually pick up some old like concert programs, but I must admit I didn't have a lot of money there. I think I had enough money for the ticket and the petrol and the parking, and I had to be quite selective so that I basically could afford to go probably to 1 gig a month, and there's a lot of gigs I didn't go to that I missed out on. So yeah. I don't know how he left from that. Yeah, let's just go with that. Yeah, memory in the internet, very true. And my little book. Yeah, I must admit I'm not very good at logging my later gigs. My wife's a lot better at that sort of thing, so I rely on her quite a bit and say, oh, you remember when we saw so-and-so? When was that? So, okay, it's a shame. I guess you have to rely on your memory. Yeah. You still listen to bands you saw in Brighton. Do you follow? Yes, I do. Yes, I do listen to them, but don't follow the latest news on the band. The bands. Yeah, I used to do that a lot more in the old days. So let me put that back. In the day, I used to read sounds and melody maker to keep up with releases and news. And it's funny, now I have the benefit of the internet, I don't really do that anymore. But I mean, now I was thinking about this the other day. I was out walking and I was listening to Spotify, and I mean, I've thought this loads of times. It's like, the stuff I can just listen to now at the press of a button. It's just phenomenal, and I can go back in time. I've been doing this listening thing where I've been going back to albums that are in the 1001 albums before you die, and going through from 1978 onwards, and I'm up to 1980 now. So I've been doing this thing in parallel where I've been listening to other albums that came out or were in the UK charts at the same time as some of the albums featured in the book. And you would have never been able to do stuff like that before Spotify. How do I find out about new music? Okay. So it's interesting. It's gone off. It's actually gone off topic. We're not so much talking about Brighton music scene, which is what I expected. It's one of the reasons why I was a bit loose in what this person's this persona in terms of their knowledge. So and that's one thing to try out. And I need to try lots of different styles of this sort of multi-shot, if that's the right word for it, multi-shot prompting, and just play around with this, because this, I'm really fascinated by this, and again, I think I've mentioned how things change over time. So, of course, Kerrang! I forgot about that. Although I think most of the gigs that I was attending in the mid-80s weren't often publicised in Kerrang! There's a few exceptions, things I suppose like The Mission. And I did see UFO in Brighton. Most of the other heavier bands that I went to see, like Judas Priest, Motorhead, Hawkwind, that was in the early 80s, and they were all at the Crawley Leisure Centre back when they had bands there. So using to find anyway, I've digressed. Using to find out me not these what do I mainly use? I mainly use the Last FM API to do that, because I've got some programs, and also I'm trying to remember the other program to discover bands similar to other bands. I also invent genres, which is true, from ports, then toes, I'm not going to speak of other genres and see if they exist, which is something I've done for a long while. I've completely misspelt portmanteaus there, and just see what happens. Okay, so one was back in the day, circus metal. What was the other one? I started adding core to everything. So before I realised there was Nintendo core, that's how I discovered Nintendo core. And then, a lot of that is through adding core to things. What was the one the other day I thought about? Things like cozy core, if that's even a thing. Maybe I should just invent some up on the fly. And which I suppose cozy core is close to cottage core. And also, what's another good core one? Is there grunge core? I don't know. all the cores. Yeah, I know grunge. I hope it's going to start lying and say, yeah, I know, these are some grindcore bands. But again, I don't think I've ever come up with one where there wasn't anything that was closely associated to the term in some way. You know, yeah. Yeah, I think that would be probably fairly accurate in terms of, I would say, cozy cores like cottagecore, but with more candles and stuff like that. So I put those are strangely accurate. Probably spelled strangely wrong there. Those are strangely accurate. Oh, see, now I've been called out. Okay, I'm curious to hear some circus metal. Yeah, I just like the idea of them, I think. I'll do that. Sometimes it gives you some sort of get out of jail answers or questions you can ask. Okay, oh, here we go. Do you play instruments? Well, yeah, I used to play guitar in a, what would you call it? It wasn't really a serious band, in a band, but just for fun. Still dabble now, but mainly for my own entertainment. It's asking a lot of questions. It's funny, we did actually record a demo tape. It wasn't particularly fantastic. I actually did a video as well. I don't even know where that is, which is pretty cringeworthy. Played rock music, wrote some songs. So I didn't perform live because by then I was ensconced in my career. We wrote some of our own songs and covered some classics. Yeah. First two. Oh no, what am I doing? Played rock, covers and originals. Never played live except to friends. it was rock, you know. It's hard rock, I suppose. It did have slight slight punk leanings. So let's try this now. Nowadays I like more extreme stuff. So we've just opened up a chasm here. That's funny. Similar question to what it asked me last night. I went through a different route. Tried this a couple of times. Last night it sort of went via more in-depth stuff to do with live gigs. Like it started asking questions about the Sisters of Mercy and the gig they played at the Albert Hall it must be near the end of '85, which was videoed. So it was asking questions about that and talking about actually as though it had attended that gig. And then we ended up talking about extreme music. On a previous occasion, it went into a bit more information about, we're talking more about covers actually, and stuff to do with covering Cure songs. And so I spoke a little bit about that. I'd done an audition for another band where we did a cover of A Forest. Had to learn that, by The Cure, which is a really cool song to play. And the fact that the band used to have to lug around this synth to play it, and they got fed up and stopped doing the synth intro because they didn't want to lug the synth around. So yeah, but I didn't get in the band, but it was an interesting experience. They were a very proficient band. Actually, it was nice to play alongside. Like, you know, a very proficient like alternate rock band. Even if it was for one, well, actually no, two auditions. So, okay. Currently, my favourite extreme band is good old Anaal Nathrakh. One has become bored of Anaal Nathrakh. One has become bored of life itself. Oh, yeah. So we're locked in a bit. Okay, so now I'm into familiar territory. I'm going to keep in this for a while because it was quite an interesting discussion the other night. So I discovered them through the John Peel show. listen to it late at night, driving back from a friend's house. So yeah, I had a friend that used to live, well, he still lives there actually, I think. I'm not sure actually, because I'm living in Nova Scotia now and he's still in the UK, but he used to live in Littlehampton on the coast, which is about a good hour and a half drive from where I lived. And so I'd be driving there back late at night, about, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night. John Peel show would be on. And yeah, every so often, well, if you know John Peel, it happens a lot, you know, he'll throw these curveball records in, very eclectic. And yeah, so that's when I was aware of them, but I hadn't heard anything by them. So that would have been early 2001. So I'm going to fish a little bit here simply because I can't remember. I think it was a track from the first album. Even though I say I like them, I should be able to remember that. It's the Codex Necro. Or maybe the EP, because there was an EP after that, I think, which was pretty much like an album anyway. Do you know about those releases? Again, we've digressed here, so you can see it's, you know, claiming ignorance, which is, you know, good. You want it to go, and then it's looking stuff up. So it's part of the fun of this. I like the scenario that it weaves in order to stay in character. Okay, so yeah, I'll have to do one where I say, "You are an expert in Anaal Nathrakh." Oh, that was it, yeah. When fire rains down from the sky, mankind will reap as it has sown. I did. Yep, there we go. Do I have a favourite song? I do, actually. And Forging Towards the Sunset. Yeah. Let's just answered something that came up before it. So, did you buy their first album or EP after hearing them on the radio? Did you follow their career and listen to other albums? Never seen them live. I bought the first album and then listened to the rest a lot later on Spotify. Listened to the Reast a lot later on Spotify. I think my favourite songs currently are Forging Towards the Sunset. I don't know if that's off of Veritas or not. And Requiem, which is off Endarkment. I think that's right. It's the closing track. When I did this the other day, and I mentioned Forging Towards the Sunset, helpfully, it came up with the YouTube video from them doing it at Roskilde, which, if you're curious, you should check out because it's really funny. I think it's Roskilde. It might well come up with it. It's doing this a lot more as well. It's I've noticed when I start talking about bands, it helpfully comes up with like another box with like YouTube videos. We're close to running out of stuff here. So what I'm going to do, yeah, I like forging. Let's just abbreviate and see how it, what's that? Forging. Actually, no, I'll do set the combination of intensity, and there's a clean soaring vocal in it actually. Because later in the track there is a good video of them performing this live. See what it looks onto that. I'm starting to run out here, so yeah, I'm probably see. Can you send me the link? Okay, no, it's not gonna. I think I had an instance with another one where it asked me, "Can you send me the link?" and said, "Oh no, don't worry, I found it." Is that the one? That's funny if it is. Let's see what it does. That's amusing. I've never seen it do that before with YouTube links. Normally it will just come up. Oh, there you go. See, it's watched it apparently. Who knows what that one is? I suppose I should... let me just see if I can grab that and watch this off camera so I don't get this video doesn't get affected by me playing stuff. Oh, it's not available anymore apparently. Okay, yep, so it doesn't always work. Don't know where that came from. So you lied. The video's been taken down. I will include a link into the video if anybody's curious in the description, and then you can see what I'm talking about if you're not familiar with that. Oh, there, yeah, live at Roskilde in 2013. Okay, so there we have it. I thought that would be a fun thing to document. Not quite as I don't know if slick's the right word, but obviously I had to do things as I'm going along, so I wasn't able to actually pre-prepare prompts for this like I've been doing in other videos. But I thought it was an interesting thing to see this develop over the course of all of the chats within a topic. Thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in the next video.